I'm Professor Denis Papazian, Professor of Russian and Armenian History at the University of Michigan Dearborn, and Director of the Knights of Artan-sponsored Armenian Research Center, which is located here on this campus. The film which you're about to see is not designed to be pleasant or entertaining, but it is important, very important. It involves an important case of human rights, of people being murdered and driven from their own homes into exile with the complicity of the government which is sworn to protect them. The story involves three people: the Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh, the ancient Armenian province of Artsakh, and the Azerbaijani people. The Azerbaijani people came on the scene during the Middle Ages. They're Turkic, and most of them are Shia Muslims. The Armenian people have been in the area since 600 BC. They were converted to Christianity at a very early date and have lived in that area on and off with independence until the present time. The third are the Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh, an ancient Armenian province inhabited first in the 2nd century BC, inhabited by brave Armenian Highlanders who preserved and fought for their independence right up until modern times, indeed preserving their independence when Armenia itself lost its freedom. Armenia has an ancient history. It goes back to 600 BC. It was involved in all the ancient empires of the old ancient world: the Persian Empire, the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, a very complicated story. Finally, in the Middle Ages, during the time of the Crusades, the Armenians finally lost their independence altogether. Armenia fell half to the Russian Empire and half to the Ottoman Empire. And they lived rather respectable lives in the Russian Empire until the revolution of 1917. At that time, the Ottoman Empire fell, the Russian Empire fell, and Armenia established its independent free state for a period of a few years. Unfortunately for the Armenians, however, the Russian Empire was reestablished under the guise of the Soviet Union. The Ottoman Empire's heir was the new Turkey, and with the power of Turkey and Russia coming forth, Armenia had to choose between them. Chose what it perceived to be the best choice under the circumstances: to unite with the emerging Soviet state. At first, the leaders of the new Soviet state recognized that Artsakh should be reestablished, reunited with Armenia, Artsakh being Nagorno-Karabakh's Armenian and old name. This lasted for a year until the resurgent Turkey under Kemal Ataturk showed itself to be the possibility of being a great power, and Lenin decided, perhaps under Stalin's influence, that what should be done rather was to resubmit Nagorno-Karabakh, Artsakh, to Azerbaijani rule in order to please the emerging Turkish power bloc. This was an unfortunate decision, because the Armenians from that very day, the ones in Nagorno-Karabakh, were denied their schools, saw their churches closed, saw prejudice against employment, a lack of food, a lack of facilities, a lack of economic development. The Armenians complained as much as they could. They sent petitions to the central government. But up until the 1970s, these petitions were roundly ignored. Finally, with the emergence of Gorbachev and Perestroika, in 1985, the Armenians began to speak out more vocally, more strongly. They demanded, finally, a reunification of Armenia with Nagorno-Karabakh, an end to this artificial separation. And then, unfortunately for the Armenians, a great earthquake took place. And Armenia, rather than being an advantage to Gorbachev and his perestroika, became an impediment, economically speaking. And that sympathy, which at first existed, was lost. And what we see finally is that Nagorno-Karabakh was taken under the direct rule of the central government of the Soviet Union for a few months, but then after the complaint of the Azerbaijanis, it was decided to place Nagorno-Karabakh under Azerbaijan. We're only talking about a small area, a small number of people, about 179,000 in Nagorno-Karabakh, 75% of whom are Armenians, people who have lived there from time immemorial. And now the question arises, what will happen to these people? Unfortunately for the Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh, before the demise finally of the USSR, Soviet troops, Azerbaijani irregulars, and Ministry of Internal Affairs, MVD troops, all not only conspired but moved in with modern fighting equipment, destroyed Armenian homes, destroyed Armenian villages, killed Armenian people, and drove them out of their ancestral homeland. The story we were about to see, the testimony of people who were actually involved in these events, is not a happy story. But the fact of the matter is that life in general is filled with unhappiness and problems. And we as human beings cannot ignore them. We must confront them. We must assert our humanity. And we must aid these people who are in need. So we see in this film some shots of Armenia, beautiful, lovely country, generally a happy people, constructive, positive, eager to be a part of the modern world, eager to accept a market economy, eager to practice democracy, eager to enjoy having Armenia as the first United States embassy in the Caucasus region, eager to have Peace Corps workers come over, eager to participate in the United Nations. And at the point we are today, it is important that all people of mankind of goodwill, try to see that this blemish on the record of mankind somehow be resolved, that we all let our voices be heard, that justice be done, and that we, particularly those of us who live in America, will not rest until this issue is resolved.
They took all my money. They took us to the Kirovabad jail, which is now called Ganja, and they immediately stripped off our clothing. They then attacked the three of us Armenian doctors and started beating us in this naked condition with their boots and rubber sticks until we became unconscious. In that condition, they took me naked to an isolated cell and threw me on the concrete floor filled with dirty water. When I recovered consciousness, they started beating me again and made me stand in the cell of dirty water for 4 days. Dirty water was dripping from the ceiling on my head. I was naked and cold. I tried to get out of the dirty water, but they were watching me, and as soon as I would try to lift my foot out of the water, they would come in, beat me again, and force me to stand in the dirty water again. The same thing went on for 4 days. After 4 days, they returned and fiercely beat me again till I passed out, and in that condition, they took me to another cell in the prison where there were 13 people from Get Teshen.
Տեսել եմ, որ ես ինչ որ տեղ եմ գտնվում։ Մեր վիճակում հանում էին այդ միջանցքով, նստում էին։
They would take us naked into the corridor and somebody would sit on us. They painted a cross on the opposite wall located at a distance of 50 meters. Then they made us crawl to kiss the cross with somebody sitting on our backs, pushing us and hitting us like donkeys. They did not feed us for 5 days, not even water. I was kept hungry. After that, once a day, they fed us water. They rinsed with the Azerbaijani prisoners' pots, from which a few tablespoons were put into a filthy dish without a spoon. A dog's dog would not eat this. A 50 to 70 gram piece of black bread soaked in sour vinegar, which was impossible to eat. When I asked them, "Why do you torture me like this? It is far better to kill me," they answered, "You are a doctor. You are the enemy number one because you have healed your Armenians and have remained here for the last 3 years." I answered, "I have healed your Azeri people for these many years." They answered, "It is the same for us. You are Armenians. We must drink your blood. We must definitely kill you." We were held in this constant fearful condition. Beside these tortures, they would come every night and tell us to get ready because they were going to take us out and execute us. I am unable to tell you everything. There is so much they have done to us, things I feel ashamed to tell you. At one time, they lined up bottles upon which we were forced to sit on, in a naked condition. May 23rd. I do not know how I'm going to tell you. This is so improper for me to tell you, for a man. After all the barbaric torture we went through, they beat and forced us to sit on these bottles. In this position, they forced the bottle into our rectum, into our intestines. They raped us. They beat us so much we were almost killed. It is better for a man to die than to go through such a thing. I cannot tell you everything. It is too horrible. It is simply much too terrible.
Ես կոնկրետ միջև հիմա չեմ կարողանում իմ առողջությունս վերականգնել։ Ես պարկել եմ 4 ամիս հիվանդանոցում, հիմա ես գտնվում եմ
I was in a hospital for 4 months. I'm on disability leave of absence, and I have no idea who is going to pay me because I do not work anywhere. My feet are numb. My liver is inflamed. My kidneys are injured. I suffer periodic blackout spells. I do not know what to do. Now the same thing continues in the regions of Karabakh. People are killed every day. Every day.
Աշխատանքս խանգարված է։ Մեկ-մեկ կորցնում եմ ինձ։
I am Russian. My husband is Armenian. I have been living in the Martunishin village for 18 years. I have 4 children by an Armenian husband, 2 boys and 2 girls. My elder son is 16 and youngest is 1 year old. On April 30th, early in the morning, about 500 Azerbaijani troops and 500 Soviet soldiers entered Martunashen along with dogs. They surrounded the houses and then entered. They surrounded the first house on the edge of the village, made the owner come out of his house, and asked him, "Why don't you sign the document that you want to leave the village of your own free will?" The man said, "Why do we have to write declarations? Why do we have to leave our houses?" The soldier said, "No, you must write that you will leave your own houses of your own free will. If not," he said, "we will kill all of you."
Значит, кроме Давидян Хачика, значит, 4 соседа друг за другом вывели из домов.
4 neighbors were brought out of their houses, one after the other, terribly beaten and killed after they had killed Hachik Davidian. All the bodies were laid one after the other. Their wives wanted to come out. The soldiers immediately began to shoot into the air. "Do not even dare to come out. If you do, we will kill you too." After that, Davidian's wife asked, "Where is my husband? Where is my husband?" They said, "He will come now." She said, "Wait, let me come out and see where my husband is." The next thing she saw was the flames coming out of her house.
Где мой муж? Одно время видит уже пламя, горит дом ее. Значит, в этот момент, когда стрельба стала еще ухудшаться,
At that moment, when the shooting worsened, I took my 7-month baby and thought, "Let me approach as a Russian to the sub-colonel and ask him why they were doing that." I approached and said, "Listen, comrade sub-colonel, may I ask you a question for a minute?" He called me a bitch. He said, "Listen, you bitch, go away, as long as I have not yet killed you." I said, "But I am a woman, and you are a man. Come here for a moment." He said, "As long as I have not killed you, get out of here." So I had to kneel with my 7-month baby in my arms and have to ask, cry and shout, "Please, I beg you, what is the guilt of the Armenians? Why do you do this? What is the difference? You are Christian, and we are Christians too." He said, "Keep silent, slut. This is Gorbachev's order. While Gorbachev is alive, we will do this." Gorbachev has not died yet. Nevertheless, I crawled to him, grabbed him by his knees, and cried and shouted, saying, "What have the children to do with this? They are suffering." Then I saw him turn to his soldiers and order them to shoot to 0 level. I saw the situation worsening. The bullets flew like hailstones upon the village. The sub-colonel seized my 7-month-old baby and threw him to one side. He kicked me with his leg, and I fell on my stomach.
беременных женщин, как говорят, вроде доктор тоже здесь, ножом прямо в
The
живот.
pregnant woman's stomach was cut with a knife in the presence of the doctor. They humiliated the woman and then killed her. The baby was lying half alive beside its mother. The woman had only a few days left to deliver her baby. I saw this with my own eyes. The baby was still breathing. My husband came and said, "Take the children away. They will do the same thing to you and to them."
И после этого, значит, прошу, как говоря, государство, пусть, ну, сколько у нас заложников.
Now we have countless hostages. Let our state have mercy for them. Release them. They are innocent people. What have they done? Why do they have to be in jails and suffer?
The Conference on Security and Cooperation in Europe, CSCE, held a briefing February 6th in Washington, D.C. in the Rayburn House building, focusing on the escalating crisis in Nagorno-Karabakh. Baroness Cox, Deputy Speaker of the British House of Lords, and Zori Balayan, representing the newly elected government of Karabakh, reported on the causes and effect of the conflict and yielded questions from senators and representatives, including members of the Congressional Working Group on Nagorno-Karabakh, who were invited to attend the briefing. A third witness, Oleg Narimanbekov, a member of the Azerbaijani Popular Front, acting as spokesman of the Azerbaijani government on the issue of Karabakh, insisted that Karabakh is Azerbaijani territory and that efforts by its Armenian population are aimed at artificially dividing the solidarity of the Caucasian republics. Responding to separate Armenian and Azerbaijani invitations for an international fact-finding mission, a CSCE delegation was dispatched to travel to Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Karabakh and prepare a report on the situation there.
I think the level of conflict has escalated to a really dangerous level of potential genocide, and the conditions of life in Stepanakert, in the rest of Karabakh, are absolutely desperate. But I think that is not a counsel of despair. It's a challenge and it's a call for help. There is a great deal that can be done. The spirit of the people of Karabakh is tremendous. They are not responding with despair. They're not giving up. They're not even full of bitterness or aggression or hate. They are in there with their heads held high, with graciousness and dignity, pride and courage. And I think the things that could be done to help would be, A, to first of all provide some of the things that they most desperately need in terms of their shortages. They, for example, are completely out of baby milk in Stepanakert. They desperately need medicines. I know your relief societies are sending a lot of supplies into Armenia. Can I suggest that you earmark them for Karabakh? Can I also suggest perhaps you think big? At the moment, there are only a very small number of helicopters taking the aid, which is so much needed inside Karabakh, into the region. Why can you not perhaps really rally around and donate a good-sized helicopter that might take in the supplies more effectively than the very little helicopters that can only take in 3 casualties at a time at the present moment? So I would say respond in a positive way and let the people of Karabakh know that you really do care and that you are acting to alleviate their suffering, and you are also working in the political field to ensure that the kind of initiatives that the international community is trying to take to prevent the deterioration of the situation are supported by grassroots people, not just the Armenian community, but educate and involve non-Armenians, other Christians particularly. Armenia is the oldest, as you know, nation to have adopted Christianity. Work with the other Christian churches, not to build up a religious war, but to show solidarity with the Christians of Karabakh and to get them spiritual help and spiritual support, as well as practical and humanitarian support and political support. So 3 things: humanitarian support, political support, spiritual support.